I would start by saying this. I want everybody to take a moment here and try to remember what you felt like when Trump won the election exactly a year ago. So Trump won the election, November 5th last year? So it's about a year and a week ago. And do you remember the exuberance of that night? The hype? How excited everybody was. Trump wins in a landslide. He wins the popular vote. And it wasn't just that he won. Remember the sentiment. The sentiment was, it will be different this time. They said, it will be different this time. Golden age. It's going to be a golden age. A truly golden age. You're going back. You're going back, they said. You have 50 days until all illegals will be deported. Remember this? They said, we're going to cut the deficit by $2 trillion. Remember Elon Musk was in the White House? Yeah, you forgot. It got memory hold. Remember Doge? Department of Government Efficiency, like the meme coin? We're going to cut $2 trillion from the deficit. We're going to deport millions of people. We're going to eliminate the Department of Education. We're going to build the wall. We're going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. Remember? Everybody thought it was going to be Trump and Vivek and Elon and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. dancing to Staying Alive while they shrank the government and, introduced the golden age and everything would be great. Remember this? Those are the vibes coming in to the election. You might recall I did not vote. I did not vote at all. I didn't tell people to vote for Kamala. I didn't vote for Kamala. I didn't vote for Trump either. I told people to recuse themselves. Why? Because I anticipated every single thing that happened this year. I told you exactly how it was going to go and why. And when I started to notice this was roughly around May during the election last year, when Nikki Haley went to Israel on Trump's behalf, dropped out of the primary, which was ongoing, and endorsed him. And then Miriam Adelson promised to cut him a check for $100 million. That's when I knew something was up. Because Trump did not secure Haley's exit from the race and endorsement and the commitment from Miriam Adelson without some sort of quid pro quo, without a deal. He cut another deal. And then about a month later in June, Trump was on the All In podcast with David Sachs after he visited his house in San Francisco for a fundraiser where Silicon Valley poured millions into his campaign. That was another.
Yeah, when Trump won the election, absolutely everybody was pretty excited to see what Trump was going to do. Trump ran heavily on mass deportation. In his own words, he said it was going to be the biggest mass deportation in the history of our country. He also said he was going to end wars in 24 hours. And that whole Doge episode was kind of weird, to subsidize the government spending, to cut costs, all that stuff. That episode was kind of funny. Caused a fallout with Elon Musk. So I never understood the whole Doge episode as well. But yeah, Nick predicted a lot of these things, and he streamed last year. I remember his predictions over a year ago when he was telling his followers not to vote for Trump. A lot of people didn't agree with that. They had a point of contention that he was doing that. They were calling him a fed, and we just didn't like the idea of voting for Kamala Harris. There was this whole thing that if you weren't voting for Trump, you were voting for Kamala Harris. It was a vote for Kamala Harris. And I think we heavily didn't want Kamala to win, so we voted for Trump. Nick was right about a lot of things. About Trump not having an American first immigration policies. Tensions keep going up and down with Iran. We've already bombed them. We have an up and down roller coaster ride with Iran, and we're always pump faking this war.
What is happening right now, obviously, is that Trump is more unpopular maybe than ever. Certainly, he's more unpopular than at any other time in this second term. His favorability is in the toilet. His approval is in the toilet. Specifically, his approval on immigration and the economy is very bad. For the first time in years, voters actually favor Democrats on the economy over Republicans. People blame Trump for the state of the economy more than they blame Biden. Any way that you cut it, Trump is in real trouble with these numbers. Numbers polling his own base, polling Republicans, independents. Any way you cut it, it is catastrophically bad. And he has only himself to blame. We're cutting Medicaid to pay for corporate tax cuts. Doge was a total failure. We're bombing Iran. Prices have not gone down and the economy has not recovered. The tariffs have been a complete disaster. There are mounting signs all over the economy. We're in a real estate bubble. Consumer spending is slowing. The job market is frozen. They're not even releasing the jobs report in October. On top of all that, they didn't even release the Epstein files. So it is a total disaster. That is why he's unpopular, and it's self-inflicted. It is because rather than keep his promises, all that this administration has done is enrich the people that are in it. There is rampant, basically criminal levels of corruption in this government. The very people that Trump brought in to drain the swamp, they're looting D.C. They're taking everything that isn't nailed down practically. They're fucking stealing. They're corrupt. That is all these. Why do you think they brought these people in? Someone like Howard Lutnick and David Sachs and, these people, they are criminals. So this is, and it's important to understand this, contrary to what the true believers, the plan trusters say, this is not actually the result of a political system that is so difficult to overcome that, they can't do it in a matter of 5 years. No, they're not even trying. It is actually for a lack of trying that it is this way. They're not trying. It's a joke. Kristi Noem is a joke. Kash Patel is a joke. Pete Hegseth is a joke. People allegedly are in there blackmailing him. It's like every person in this cabinet is a complete disaster. And the reason it's like this is because it's all patronage. Trump got in office to stay out of jail. He had to cut deals to get money. And now that he's in, he had to reward the donors by allowing them to pick the cabinet members, reward other people in the party with these patronage posts. And now this is what we're getting. So this is an utter and complete catastrophe. There's no deportations. We hit the H-1B cap. We're in a war with Iran. We're going to go back very soon. It's just like one cataclysm after the next. Here's the playbook. It is in this context where Trump posts something like this. Poll numbers down, favorability down the tubes, economy sucks, all these wars are breaking out all over again. Everybody's deeply unhappy. What do? Let it rip with the racism, let it rip with the retard, let it rip with nativism. I know what'll get those stupid idiots back on my side. I'm going to do a racist rant. I'm going to go on Twitter and True Social, and I'm going to let it rip. And I'm going to be obnoxious and belligerent and politically incorrect and brash and controversial. And I'm going to say something so shocking, so edgy, so ridiculous that everyone is going to be talking about this and not that. Everyone's going to be talking about how I called Tim Walz a retard. Everyone's going to be talking about how I said this about Ilhan Omar. I'm going to pack 15 pounds of shit in a 10-pound bag of controversy and rage bait and clip farming so that nobody's going to pay attention to the fact that we didn't even release the October jobs report because it was so bad. No one's paying attention to a war in Venezuela that nobody wants. No one's paying attention to Black Friday consumer trends being a disaster, the job market failing. No one pay any attention to the complete and utter disaster. Republicans might lose their majority in the House before the midterms because so many people are jumping ship.
Yeah, I agree with Nick here. I think a lot of people are highly upset with this administration. I think people in this cabinet are very questionable. When it comes to Kash Patel, everybody just doesn't trust him. He said he was going to be very transparent with the FBI, and he said he was going to be fully transparent with the Epstein files. And I think we just lost all faith in the integrity of the FBI. We think they're just covering a lot of things and they're not being open with their investigation as well, which I know it's an investigation, stuff like that. But if the public is in the dark of a lot of things, we believe we deserve to know some information here and there, just not swept under the rug information. But Nick is right. The fact that Trump still talks spicy and does stuff like call Tim like a retard, that is kind of funny. That kind of makes a lot of people see tiny glimpse of humor that like some, all the stuff that we do like Trump for, there's little glimpse that we do see it here and there. And I don't know. I know for me, I love this country. I want to see this country win. And there is parts of me that I do want Trump to succeed in some areas. But ultimately, I think a lot of people can agree with me that there are just disappointing things that he has done in his administration. Yeah, I think a lot of people are just left disappointed because, we really didn't want Kamala, but we're with Trump. So we got to deal with the good, bad, and ugly.
And this is why everyone hates Trump now. This is why everyone hates Trump. Everyone hates this administration because it is a scam. It's not even a failure. It's not even an honest failure. It is a scam. We are not getting anything that we have been promised. Think about it. We were promised industrial policy, tariffs, subsidies. They backed down in 1 week. Remember Liberation Day, April 2nd, we're going to liberate ourselves from free trade. We're going to have tariffs on every country. They caved in 1 week and then said, oh, the whole time it was really just about China. Remember that? Another fake out. They said, we're declaring tariffs on every country in the world. And then when the bond market melted down, they said, never mind. It was really just a big trick. And what we always intended to do was to only have tariffs on China and nobody else. Trump always chickens out. Then he said, we're going to deploy the National Guard to Chicago and LA and Memphis and every major city. And we're going to bring law and order to the streets. Then they said, oh, actually, we can't do that. And if we deploy 200 National Guard, that's what we meant. And we're only doing it for 60 days. And it never happened. Trump always chickens out. He said mass deportations. We're going to get all these people back. We're going to deport everybody, the violent criminals first, and then everybody else. 300,000 deportations for the year. He always chickens out. Every single thing is a catastrophe. And instead of just being honest about the state of things, instead of actually just recommitting to doing these things that were promised, we get excuses. They just fucking lie. And Trump gets up in a primetime address, like he did every week in the first term, and said, actually, everything's really going great. And it's like we just live in two different worlds now. We live in two different worlds with MAGA supporters, with Trump supporters. In the minds of Trump supporters, 3 million people have been deported, and Trump has ended 8 wars, and inflation is actually down. And that is what they believe. Even though the war in Ukraine is going on, they will confidently tell you, but Trump ended 8 wars. And what they're referring to is the war between Thailand and Cambodia, not making that up. The war between Rwanda and Congo, not making that up. The war the skirmish between India and Pakistan. In reality, where we live, the Ukraine war, the actual war, that's still going on. The peace in Gaza, that's falling apart and will probably restart anytime soon. But Trump supporters will say, no, but he ended 8 different wars. How much do you want him to do? It's like, I think we elected him to end the war in Ukraine, not the one in Cambodia, actually.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Trump keeps talking about the Nobel Peace Prize talks. He kept bragging about how he ended all these wars. He brought world peace. Some crazy antichrist type thing, But in reality, the main wars I think everyone has their main focus on is the Ukraine and Russia and with Israel and Gaza. So all these other, like Nick just mentioned, all these other, India, Pakistan, all that stuff like that. But to be honest, it just sounds like Nick is I think he's more disappointed because you got to remember he was a Trump supporter at one point. I think it's just a case of seeing your hero fail, your hero betraying you. And I think that's where Nick is at with this Trump administration. But he had the vision, he saw it ahead of everyone, and I basically think that's basically what's going on with Nick when it comes to the Trump administration. And I agree with Nick. A lot of the things he predicted did come true, and we're seeing it firsthand. So let me know what you think about Nick being right about the Trump administration.
Israel First and Trump are going down together. They're going down holding hands because they're inextricably connected. Israel First, Ben Shapiro, and tired, low-energy Trump, they're both going down the tubes together. This is a movement that is no longer talking to Americans, doesn't care about Americans, doesn't put Americans first. And it's finished. When Trump goes out and says, I could cut the number of Chinese students in half, and maybe that'd make people happy, but I'm not going to. You're not talking to Americans anymore. You forgot Americans. You're putting them last again. You're not fighting for them, but you're still answering to Mark Levin and Shapiro. Well, you can have them. This movement is over. And now the question is, what comes next? Trumpism is over. I hate to inform you, this administration is done. Stick a fork in it. It's fucking over. We played this game. It's deja vu. I was there for the first term, and I remember right up until 2020, I was saying, okay, we could still make a difference. I remember in spring 2020, I was coping. Trust me when I tell you it's over. We're out of time. Okay? Because it's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving in 2 weeks. It's Christmas a month after that. Then it's the midterms. You think they're going to do mass deportations and federal control of Chicago during the midterms? You think Putin's going to end the war during the midterms? They're not. Okay? We're going to get slaughtered in the midterms. Democrats are going to control the House, and then they're going to shut the White House down. Things are going to get worse, not better. This administration, Trump is getting worse. He's 80 years old. The people are terrible. Kristi Noem is a fucking idiot, and she's running DHS. It's not going to happen. And then in 2027, the whole cabinet is going to run for president. Congratulations, Trump. You filled up your cabinet with people that don't care about America. They just want to be president. And in 2027, 2 months after the midterms, half the cabinet is going to announce their run for the presidency. J.D. Vance, Vice President. Mark Rubio, Secretary of State. Kristi Noem, Secretary of DHS. Maybe RFK Jr., HHS. You think they're going to be able to make America great again when half the cabinet is running for president and Democrats control Congress and they're impeaching Trump? Never going to happen. It's over. And I told you it would happen like this exactly. I said no mass deportations, H-1Bs. You're getting a war with Iran. I said they're not going to bring in the right personnel. They're going to stall. They're not going to hit the ground running because they have no plan. They're disorganized. They're going to blow a whole year. And if they do that, then you don't have as much time as you think. They'll run out the clock. It will happen, as I said, and then it'll be 2028 before you know it.
And a few days ago, Nick actually posted on Twitter just a little reminder of stuff that he was talking about and warning everybody about the Trump administration. Things such as you can see, the Golden Age update, 325K deportations for 2025 was considered very low. He was talking a big game. Like I said, he was heavily running on mass deportation. Bomb Nigeria, bomb Venezuela, threatening to bomb Iran again. Like I said before, we already did bomb them, and that's just an up and down thing. That's never going to stop. The 5th Netanyahu visit, he's always visiting. Trump always rolls out the red carpet. Trump wins the Israel prize, which, by the way, I just found this out. He's actually the first non-Israeli to win that prize. They love him over there. Even Netanyahu said that Trump is the best Israel first president we've ever had. So, which is kind of weird. Epstein files redacted, which the whole Epstein episode is a big old stain on the Trump administration. When his presidency is done, everybody's always just going to remember the fact that he wasn't completely transparent with the files. A lot of people think he's on the files. There's photos, stuff like that. But the fact that he ran on the fact that he was going to release files, all these all these, he was going to declassify everything, and that wasn't the case. They pump fake and gave us these information we already knew. YouTubers doing the FBI's job, we've lost. That's because we lost faith in our own FBI with their investigations. We feel like they're not being truthful and transparent with the public, and $5 billion for refugees resettlement. So that's Nick giving us a reminder of all these type of things that Nick has predicted, and a lot of them are coming to fruition. We're seeing that right now with the Trump administration. So Nick trying to warn us, and we're seeing a lot of things come true.